The marketplace of celestial Port Harmony buzzed with life from 100 different worlds. Merchants called out in dozens of languages while the air smelled of exotic spices and ozone from passing hovercarts. Among the crowd, a young Valasian girl moved carefully through the narrow passages between stalls. Zyra's iridescent feathers caught the artificial sunlight as she guided her mobility chair toward her favorite destination. The human bookshop stood at the corner of the market, its worn sign reading Earth's Tales in several languages. She visited every week, drawn to the strange and wonderful stories humans told about honor, adventure, and hope. Her chair hummed softly as it navigated around a fruit vendor. The device was beautiful in its complexity, designed specifically for her bird-like physiology. Since the shuttle accident 2 years ago had left her unable to walk, this chair had become more than just a tool. It was her freedom, her independence, her way of refusing to disappear from the world. "Look at that pathetic thing," a harsh voice cut through the marketplace noise. Zyra's feathers flattened against her neck. She knew that tone. She had heard it before from certain species who measured worth only in physical strength. 3 young Kravish stepped into her path. Their muscular frames towered over most beings in the market, their gray skin marked with traditional warrior tattoos they had not yet earned through actual service. They were the sons and nephews of important families, spending their parents' wealth and influence like water. "Why do they let broken creatures roam free on our station?" the tallest one sneered. His name was Drac, and he was notorious among the merchant families for causing trouble without consequence. Zyra kept her voice steady. "Please let me pass. Please let me pass," Drac mocked in a high-pitched voice. His companions laughed. "This is a place for the strong, the worthy, not for damaged goods that should have been left behind." She tried to move around them, but they shifted to block her path. Her hearts beat faster in her chest. The marketplace had grown quieter. People were watching but no one intervened. The Kravish family had too much power. "I just want to get to the bookshop," Zyra said quietly. "Books?" one of the others spat. "Of course. Weak minds seeking weak stories." Zyra reached the shop's entrance, her hand stretching toward the door handle. She was so close. Just a few more inches. Then Drac moved with shocking speed. His powerful hand gripped the back of her chair and yanked it backward with tremendous force. Zyra tumbled forward onto the hard ground, her belongings scattering across the marketplace floor. Her data pad skidded away. The book she had been carrying fell open, its pages crumpling. "Let us see how fast this fancy chair can go," Drac shouted, jumping onto the seat. His friends howled with laughter as they raced away through the market, the chair's systems beeping in protest at the rough treatment. Zyra lay on the ground, her feathers trembling. She refused to cry out. She refused to give them the satisfaction. Slowly, painfully, she began pulling herself toward her scattered possessions. Nearby, a human man was unloading cargo containers from a transport dolly. Marcus Chin had been halfway through his shift when the commotion started. He watched the Kravish thugs disappear into the crowd with the chair. He saw the Valasian girl struggling on the ground, her dignity intact even in humiliation. Something old and military stirred in his chest. Something he had tried to bury since leaving the service. Marcus set down the container he was holding. His prosthetic leg clicked softly as he walked toward the fallen girl. He had seen enough cruelty in his life. He had been powerless too many times during the war, watching good people suffer while he could do nothing. But he was not powerless now. "Miss," he said gently, kneeling beside her. "Let me help you." Zyra looked up at the stranger with wide, cautious eyes. Humans were still relatively new to the station, and she had heard conflicting stories about them. But the man's face showed only concern and something else she recognized, a fellow survivor's understanding. "Thank you," she whispered as Marcus carefully gathered her belongings. His movements were gentle, respectful. He handed her the damaged book first, knowing somehow that it mattered most. "I am Marcus," he said simply. "Can you tell me about that chair they took?" Zyra's voice shook slightly. "It is custom-made for my body. It took 6 months to build and program. Without it, I cannot reach most places on the station. The doorways, the transports, even my own apartment requires it." She paused, fighting back emotion. "It is not just a chair. It is my life." Marcus nodded slowly. He understood that better than most. His prosthetic leg was not just metal and circuits. It was the difference between living and merely existing. "We should report this to station security," he said, helping her sit upright against the shop wall. The security office was only 2 corridors away, but it felt like a journey to another world. Marcus carried Zyra there, ignoring the stares from passing aliens. She was lighter than he expected, her hollow bones evolved for a life her body could no longer live. The Vorlian security officer barely looked up from his data screen. State your complaint. Those Kravish youths stole my mobility chair, Zyra explained. They assaulted me and took my property. The officer's antenna twitched with disinterest. Kravish youths? The families are very important to station commerce. Are you certain this was not just youthful play that you misunderstood? Marcus felt his jaw tighten. I saw it happen. They attacked her and stole medical equipment. And you are? The officer asked with barely concealed contempt. Marcus Chin. Dock worker. Human quarter. The officer made a dismissive gesture. File a report through the system. Insurance will process a replacement request. Standard wait time is 4 to 6 months. 6 months? Zyra's voice cracked. I cannot be trapped in my apartment for 6 months. That is unfortunate, the officer said, already returning to his screen. But accusations against prominent families require substantial evidence and witnesses. Do you have any besides this human? The marketplace had been full of people. Dozens had seen everything. But no one would speak against the Kravish family. Marcus and Zyra left the office in silence. I am sorry you were involved in this, Zyra said softly. You should not risk yourself for me. The Kravish family is dangerous. Marcus looked at her for a long moment. Something in her quiet dignity reminded him of soldiers he had served with. Good people who kept going despite impossible circumstances. People worth fighting for. I will get your chair back, he said. Please no. They will hurt you. Maybe, Marcus admitted. But some things are worth the risk. He left Zyra at the Human Quarter medical station where a doctor promised to look after her. Then Marcus walked into the darker corners of the station, the places where dock workers and transport pilots gathered. He asked questions. He bought information with drinks and favors. By evening he knew where the Kravish youths spent their time. An exclusive entertainment district called the Azure Level, where entry cost more than Marcus earned in a month. Where humans were tolerated only as servants. Marcus checked his old military jacket in his locker. He had not worn it in 2 years. The medals were still pinned to the chest, dusty but intact. He put it on and walked toward the Azure Level. The entrance guards tried to stop him. Humans are not permitted without sponsorship. I am not here for entertainment, Marcus said calmly. I am here to retrieve stolen property. His tone carried something that made the guards step back. Something that spoke of violence controlled but not forgotten. They let him pass. The Azure Level glowed with expensive lights that shifted colors like living things. Music pounded from establishments where the wealthy and privileged gathered to forget the ordinary world below. Marcus walked through the crowds, his military jacket drawing curious and hostile stares. He found them in a place called the Victory Hall, sprawled across cushioned platforms with drinks in their hands. Zyra's chair sat abandoned in the corner like trash, its elegant frame scratched and damaged. One of them had drawn crude symbols on the seat with permanent marker. Marcus walked straight toward them, his prosthetic leg clicking against the polished floor. The sound cut through the noise like a countdown. Drax saw him first. His eyes widened in surprise, then narrowed with amusement. Look, brothers. The broken human has come to join the other broken thing. I am here for the chair, Marcus said quietly. Give it back and this ends now. The 3 Kravish stood, using their full height to intimidate. They were each a head taller than Marcus, their muscles built for combat. Around them, other patrons moved back, sensing violence about to unfold. You dare come here and make demands? Drax stepped forward. You should crawl back to your human slums before we teach you proper respect. Respect, Marcus repeated softly. You do not know the meaning of that word. Drax swung first, a powerful strike meant to crush bones. But Marcus was not there anymore. His military training took over, muscle memory from 1,000 combat drills. He moved inside the punch, redirected the force and struck Drax's knee with precise brutality. The second Kravish charged from the side. Marcus used Drax's falling body as a shield, then swept the attacker's legs. The third one grabbed Marcus from behind in a crushing hold, but Marcus drove his head backward into the alien's face, then dropped his weight and rolled, throwing the larger being over his shoulder. It was over in less than 20 seconds. All 3 Kravish lay on the ground, groaning in pain and shock. Marcus stood over them, breathing hard but controlled. His prosthetic leg had a new dent but it still worked. Next time you see someone different from you, Marcus said, remember this moment. Remember that strength is not about who you can hurt. It is about who you choose to protect. He picked up Zyra's chair, checked it for damage and walked out of the victory hall. Behind him, the stunned silence erupted into shouting. By the time Marcus returned the chair to Zyra, the news had already spread through the station's communication networks. A human dock worker had assaulted 3 members of the Kravish warrior caste on the Azure level. The story grew with each telling. Zyra cried when she saw her chair. Marcus had cleaned off the markings as best he could. "You should not have done this," she said through tears. "They will come for you now." "Let them come," Marcus replied. But it was not warriors who came first. It was other humans. Veterans who had served in the same units as Marcus. Dock workers who had faced discrimination. Families who were tired of being treated as lesser beings on a station they helped build. They gathered in the human quarter that night, filling the common hall. An old veteran named Sarah spoke first. "We all know what is coming. The Kravish family will not let this stand. They will make an example of Marcus." "Then we stand with him," another voice called out. Others joined in agreement. Marcus stood before them, uncomfortable with the attention. "This is not your fight." "Yes, it is," Sarah said firmly. "You did what all of us have wanted to do. You showed them that humans will not be pushed around anymore. That we protect our own and others who cannot protect themselves." The next morning, station security arrived with a formal summons. The Kravish family had invoked an ancient challenge tradition. Marcus would face their champion in the arena, or he would be imprisoned and all humans would fall under Kravish authority. Marcus read the document carefully, then looked at the worried faces around him. "I accept," he said. The arena had not been used for formal combat in over a decade. Now it filled with thousands of spectators from across the station, all eager to witness what most believed would be a quick and brutal lesson to the upstart humans. Marcus stood in the preparation chamber, wrapping his hands carefully. Around him, human veterans offered advice and encouragement. Sarah checked his prosthetic leg one final time, reinforcing the joint connections with emergency repairs. "Their champion is Vormath," she said quietly. "He has fought in 3 actual wars. He is trained, experienced, and he has never lost a challenge match." Marcus nodded. He had expected nothing less. The Kravish would not risk their honor on anyone but their best. Zyra rolled into the chamber, her repaired chair humming softly. "You do not have to do this," she said, her voice desperate. "I can leave the station. I can find another way." "No," Marcus said gently. "You should not have to leave your home because someone decided you were not worthy of respect. That is not how the world should work." "But you could die." Marcus smiled sadly. "I have been close to death before. I have seen good people die for no reason at all. If I fall today, at least it will be for something that matters." The arena doors opened with a grinding sound. Marcus walked out into the blinding lights and roaring crowd. Across the circular fighting space, Vormath emerged from the opposite entrance. The Kravish champion was massive, his body covered in scars that told stories of survival. His eyes studied Marcus with the cold assessment of a professional warrior. Unlike the foolish youths, Vormath showed no amusement or contempt. Only focus. The arena master announced the terms in multiple languages. The fight would continue until one fighter could not rise or yielded. No weapons. No outside interference. Honor would be satisfied by the outcome. The signal sounded. Vormath moved with surprising speed for his size, closing the distance in powerful strides. His first strike came like a hammer, but Marcus had already shifted his weight, redirecting the blow past his shoulder. He countered with quick strikes to vulnerable points, targeting nerves and joints rather than trying to match strength. The champion absorbed the hits without flinching and swept Marcus's legs. Marcus rolled with the fall, avoiding the crushing stomp that cracked the arena floor where his head had been. He scrambled up, already moving as Vormath pressed the attack. Minutes passed like hours. Marcus used every trick he had learned in military combat training. He made Vormath work for every advantage, staying mobile, staying unpredictable. But the champion's experience showed. He adapted to Marcus's tactics, cutting off escape routes, landing devastating body blows that cracked ribs. A powerful kick caught Marcus's prosthetic leg. Metal shrieked and bent. Marcus stumbled, nearly falling. Vormath moved in for the finish. But Marcus did not try to run. He ripped the damaged prosthetic off completely and swung it like a club, catching Vormath across the jaw. The champion staggered back in surprise. Marcus threw the broken prosthetic aside and stood on one leg, balanced and ready. The crowd had gone silent. They had never seen anything like this. "Why do you fight so hard for a stranger?" Vormath asked, circling carefully. "She is not even your species." Because it was the right thing to do, Marcus answered, breathing hard. Because someone needed help and I could provide it. Is that not what true warriors do? Protect those who cannot protect themselves. Vormath paused, considering the words. Then he charged again. Marcus timed it perfectly. He dropped low, using Vormath's momentum against him, striking the champion's already damaged knee while accepting a brutal elbow to his shoulder. They both crashed to the ground. The arena held its breath. Marcus rose first, barely, his body screaming in pain. He stood on one leg, swaying but upright. Vormath tried to rise but his injured knee gave out. He fell back, unable to continue. The human section of the arena erupted in celebration while shock rippled through the rest of the crowd. Against all odds, Marcus had won. Marcus collapsed the moment the victory was confirmed. Human medics rushed onto the arena floor, carefully lifting him onto a stretcher. His body was covered in bruises and cuts, his shoulder possibly dislocated, 3 ribs cracked. But he was alive, and he was conscious enough to see Zyra's face in the crowd, tears streaming down her feathered cheeks. Across the arena floor, Kravish medics attended to Vormath. The champion sat up slowly, his eyes never leaving Marcus as they carried the human away. Something had shifted in that gaze, from the cold assessment of a warrior to something deeper, more thoughtful. 2 days later, Marcus woke in the Human Quarter Medical Center. His body ached everywhere, wrapped in bandages and connected to healing equipment. Sarah sat beside his bed, reading from a data pad. "You are awake," she said with relief. "You have been unconscious for 30 hours. Did I really win?" Marcus asked, his voice rough. "Or did I dream that part?" "You won," Sarah confirmed. "And you have changed everything." Over the next week, as Marcus recovered, he learned the extent of what his victory meant. Vormath himself had come to the Human Quarter, an act unprecedented for a Kravish of his status. He requested to speak with Marcus privately. The champion entered the medical room with careful respect. "I came to say that I underestimated you," Vormath said simply. "Not your fighting skill, though that surprised me. But your reason for fighting. In Kravish culture we fight for glory, for honor, for status. You fought for someone else's dignity. I had forgotten that such fighting exists." Marcus nodded slowly. "Your people value strength. But strength without compassion is just violence." "Yes," Vormath agreed. "I will carry this lesson. The 3 young ones who started this have been punished severely by their families. They will serve the station's maintenance crews for 1 full year, learning humility. My family has also provided resources for a new mobility chair for the Valasian girl, better than her original." The Kravish champion bowed, a gesture of deep respect in his culture, and left. But the changes went beyond one family's apology. Station security implemented new protection policies for all beings, regardless of physical capability. Species that had quietly endured discrimination for years began speaking up, inspired by the human who had risked everything for a stranger. Marcus became something he never wanted to be, a symbol. But Zyra helped him understand that symbols could become teachers, and teachers could create real change. 3 months after the arena battle, Marcus received a new prosthetic leg, better engineered than his original. He worked with station security now, training officers and protecting vulnerable populations and recognizing the signs of abuse and discrimination. His military experience, once a source of painful memories, found new purpose. Zyra's support group for beings with disabilities grew rapidly. They met weekly in the Human Quarter, where Marcus volunteered his time. He never spoke about the fight unless asked, preferring to focus on practical help and emotional support. One evening, Marcus and Zyra sat together in Earth's Tales bookshop, reading in comfortable silence. A young Kravish child approached hesitantly, his parents standing nervously behind him. "Are you the human who fought Vormath?" the child asked. "I am," Marcus replied gently. "My parent says you are the bravest warrior on the station. Will you teach me to fight like you?" Marcus looked at the child thoughtfully. "I can teach you something better than fighting. I can teach you when to fight and, more importantly, who to fight for. True strength is not about hurting others. It is about protecting them, especially those who are different from you." The child considered this seriously, then nodded. As more young beings approached with questions and requests, Marcus realized he had finally found what he had been searching for since leaving the military. Not glory or recognition, but purpose. A reason to keep moving forward. Zyra reached over and squeezed his hand. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For everything." "Thank you," Marcus replied, "for reminding me what is worth fighting for." Outside the bookshop, Celestial Port Harmony continued its eternal dance of cultures and species, Now a little more understanding, a little more compassionate, because one veteran remembered that respect is not given to the strongest, but earned by those who stand up when it costs them everything.